So welcome everybody. It is Monday, August the 2nd, and this is the Smart Networker call. And the purpose of this call is to help you build your business and bring up and talk about topics that are important to you and provide information, sounding board, ideas, strategies, suggestions that could be helpful. So the first off that I will go with is, does anybody have anything that they would like to talk about?
Okay, I don't think everybody's picked them yet.
Okay, yeah, I was noticing how great.
I can mention something. I have switched my mindset, and I'm really focusing on a focus group. And because I'm full-time RV, I'm focusing on people that come in an RV. So I've joined a couple of Facebook groups, one in British Columbia and one in Ontario. And I started making my personal identity more called Wellness on Wheels. So I've created a new website indicating that, where I do a lot of blogs and about how I got started and why that the wellness home can be portable and be everywhere. And right now in British Columbia, we have had a summer of smoke, and we're basically housebound because it's so, you can't go out and enjoy the nature because nature is consumed by wildfires at the moment. So it's very discomforting. So I've really focused on and there's all sorts of families. So I'm fortunate enough, I have an office and I put my little business cards up: Wellness on Wheels, improve your camping experience. So I'm going to see how that works because it's really focusing on people at all ages in there. So anyway, so it's a new strategy for me.
Well, I think the strategy is smart for a couple of reasons. It's an area that you're familiar with. You live in an RV yourself, so you have a familiarity with the circumstances that in your environment, and you can become the expert and very knowledgeable about utilizing the product and the technology to help other people. Now, the key here, like all aspects of doing this business, is the potential solution, which is connected to either the problem, the desire, the situation, the need, and or the want. Now, I'm sure all marketers and companies would love to have the magic wand of being able to say, well, I know exactly where my customers are. It kind of reminds me of the Wrigley story, where the owner of Wrigley's chewing gum was asked a long time ago about his advertising budget, and he advertised everywhere. And they said, you're advertising in areas where people don't go, they aren't buying gum, they aren't chewing gum, whatever the case may be. Why do you, if you cut back all this advertising, you'd make even more money? And he laughed and he said, if I knew where the customers were, then I'd have the crystal ball, but I don't. And so the moral of the story is that the customers are out there. The people that want our products are out there. The question is, where are they? What rock are they under? What door are they behind? What tree are they hiding in, so to speak, becomes the question of the day. So the idea that you're putting forward of, joining specific groups and all of that stuff is wonderful. Now, the key to doing all of that then becomes, what are you doing with that group or for that group, or how are you communicating to that group? And in the sense of what my observation is, for the most part, where we're kind of missing the boat a little bit, is we're not presenting the solution after identifying the problem. So in other words, if we promote identifying the problem and then offer the Niken as the solution, you're going to have a much better turnaround. In other words, you're going to have a better, and again, it's kind of an interesting concept here, but if I look back at you and everybody else that's been involved with this business, the key aspect that I've observed is that you took on this business or bought this product to handle something, to either deal with an issue, to deal with a problem, to deal with a desire, to deal with a need, or to deal with a want. And somebody came along and at the right time, timing was important, and you got involved or you bought the product, one of the two things. So everybody else is the same as you. In other words, people will come into the awareness of the Nikken brand, the Nikken product, the Nikken opportunity, the Nikken business, whatever, and based on their circumstances, will then act based on how they're communicated to. So if you've got, and again, this is where, you know, technology and blogs and information has become a very pertinent aspect of doing business today, because people are writing about circumstance and situation. In other words, they're writing about, do you have this problem? If you look at advertising, for example, they'll advertise a problem, a situation, a desire, a want, a need, and here's the fulfillment of those things. So it's pretty standard practice. Now, the next step that I would suggest for that aspect is to then really take a look at, you know, what are or could be some of the issues that what you're representing could fulfill or handle or solve. So it was the same thing when I got involved with the business. I had a problem, and I was first approached on the product that I didn't have a problem with, so not interested. It was that, don't talk to me, I'm not interested. I'm focused, I have another issue. So you will find that when people have a serious problem, you're not going to be able to penetrate unless you talk about the problem. So if the person has a physical or a health challenge, then that's the problem issue, then that's the entrance. If they have, you know, whatever it is, and I'm not familiar with owning an RV or the experiences of RVs or what goes on in an RV, other than, okay, you sleep, you eat, you know, you have all the same aspects of life and living. So how could our products be of benefit for that experience would be the promotion that I would go after. And the questions I would be asking are, is there, you know, could you benefit from, or is this an issue, or have you, you know, asking those kind of questions. Would you be interested in an extra $5,000 for the money problem? You know, do you have problems sleeping at night for the sleep problem? Did your husband snore? Whatever. So the questions are designed to stimulate the problem, the situation, the desire, the need, or the want. And then the solution then becomes the involvement of participation. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, I really would like to help lots of people. Okay, that's great. So if I could show you a way where you could really help lots of people, could we sit down and talk? And they'd say, well, sure, yeah, what are you talking about? Now what you want to find out is, well, how do you want to help other people? You know, and then you get a more, you know, again, a more specific aspect of what that is. And it's just a series of questions, and you ask back and forth until you find the answer. But it's your ability to provide the solution. And it's not necessarily provide it, but it's talking about it. And you know, it's kind of like if I said to you, okay, I need to make 10 grand a month. What do I need to do? So the question opens that door. That's what I need. What do I need to do? Now, your ability to answer that question then sets the stage for, will you ask that question? See, if you can't answer it for yourself, then you're not going to answer it. You're going to side skirt it. You're going to go some other direction. Well, you know, those kind of things are possible, but let's talk about you getting involved. You can become a distributor, and then, you know, you sell some product and you make some money. Well, it's like, okay, you go to the doctor and you've got this situation going on physically, and you ask the doctor what's going on, and he says, well, you know, let me poke around and see what I can find. You know, how long would you go to that doctor? Not very long. So it's the professionalism of your ability to communicate an answer back based on the question that you ask. So let's say that you were a life insurance person. So what does a life insurance person do? Well, they insure people's lives. They insure them for time. There's a number of different ways. There's a lot of different types of products. So there's a lot of different circumstances. And so it's an understanding of all those circumstances that would then allow the agent or the representative to present the right kind of product to handle what needs to be handled. So why would you get life insurance? Well, there's many reasons, and depends on your circumstance, your situation, what's going on in life, what you're trying to protect. And it's a protection of life, but it's for somebody else's benefit. So you have a family, you have a young family, and you have a healthy, you know, potential, you know, history in your family, whatever the case may be. So you want to protect their future. And so you therefore would buy life insurance, or you're married, or you have a business, or you're a partnership, or whatever. And what you do is very important. So if something happens to you, you have to look at your replacement value. what's that going to cost the company or your partnership or what have you. So it's, again, the same concept, problem solution. So what from the standpoint of what I've observed recently, in the sense of what used to be done to what's being done today, people are not going out and looking for the problem or the circumstance or the situation or the desired need and want that we used to do. And there's a reason for that. And I think that the reason is people have so many circumstances to deal with. Time is of a value. I was watching CNBC today, or no, it was Bloomberg. And they had one of the largest logistics companies being interviewed, and they were talking about employment issues. And in the United States, there's a huge problem with truckers. They do not have enough people to drive trucks in this country to supply the goods and services that are coming off of ships and have to be shipped around the country, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to countries like Africa to look for potential truck drivers. Now, go figure, right? So now, in a truck driver, if you listen to the news and you can make $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 driving a truck for various companies.
More than that. Those big ones, you can make more than that.
Yeah, but you got to drive across. You're gone for a long time, et cetera, et cetera. So again, there's a need, there's an idea, there's an opportunity, there's a circumstance, there's a situation. And if the glove fits the hand, people are going to do that. Why would one do that? I don't know. I tried it one time, very young and out of college, and it was an interesting job, but I don't think I'd like to do that for the rest of my life, kind of a concept. So what we are involved with and what we need to do is we're kind of like the business artist of communication and ideas. And again, it's, the stories that I've told in the past, the stories that are on the webpage, all explain the idea and the concept that if you have a niche or you have an area that you want to exploit or promote or talk about, then become the expert in that field. know everything you can. I'm thinking about, right now I was watching the Olympics last night, and an ad came on for a bed company, sleep company. I think it was Sleep Number. And they were saying things that, it's scientifically proven that a good night's sleep helps your health and all that sort of stuff. And I think you can become a sleep expert. I think you can get certified to do that. And I'd like to talk to Nikan about creating that certification for you to become a sleep expert, because here's the interesting thing about this. Everybody sleeps. There are no barriers here. I mean, everybody sleeps, and it's a huge issue that we could capitalize on, and one could become an expert in. So in your particular case, Lorraine, for somebody that's traveling, is sleep an issue? Well, if it is, figure out what the issues are, figure out what the problems are, put those problems out there and say, hey, I have a solution. If you look at you look at all these drug companies, if you got this skin problem, or if you got this problem, or you got that problem, you got, whatever kind of problem, take this drug, the pill pushing society. And of course, we know that 22% of the population will get well on sugar pills. So, some people are going to get a positive effect and some people aren't, but the side effects are the key issue. But if you look at the methodology of what is being done, they're all promoting and doing the same thing. They're identifying a problem and presenting that solution. So here was the other interesting aspect of building this business. This business isn't for everybody. And this is really important. This is really, really important, because I think a lot of distributors think this is for everybody. Well, it ain't. Same way with the product. It's not for everybody. And if it were for everybody, it would have been done a long time ago, and it wouldn't be an opportunity that it is today. It's, again, this is the way society works. And this is the way human beings operate. So what we have to look at is that, again, I told this story many times. I don't know if I've told it on here. I think I probably talked to about 10,000 people about Nikan. And in that, I found 6 people that said yes. Now, don't get all freaked out. Oh my God, you mean I got to talk to 10,000 people? Well, that's including everybody. That's including everything. That's just in, hi, how are you? I'm a Nikan distributor, or what do you do, or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line was that there are so many people out there that are off doing something else, or off busy, or stuck in their own life and living their own problems and issues and challenges. They can't see the forest for the trees either. And that, therefore, is not your job to worry about those things. You're not looking for those that don't, you're looking for those that do. Now, in light of that concept and that idea, what's really important is you have to identify why you're doing this. What is it that you want? And I mean, it really has to be important, because you got to go to work. I mean, there's no question about it. You got to go to work in order to make it happen. Now, I don't work the same way I did when I was 35 today. It's a different set of circumstance and a different situation, but my mind works the same way. So I think the same way, I strategize, and I'm constantly doing that and looking for ideas and looking for solutions that I can present or operate on to what's going on in life and living. And there's no question that we've changed in the last 6 months to a year, that the operating basis has somewhat changed. Corporations are having a little bit of a challenge. Do we tell people they need to get vaccinated or not? There's no question that those that aren't being vaccinated are more susceptible to getting a serious reaction to this pandemic than those that aren't. Those that have done the vaccines are still vulnerable to get it, but not as severe as those that didn't get vaccinated. There's all kinds of politics. There's all kinds of considerations. There's all kinds of stuff but what's happened as a result of all of this is the thinking process of how to attract customers, how to sell your products, how to hire employees, where to work, has become a very interesting subject in itself, and it bodes well for what we do. It really bodes well for what we do.
Dave, I see that you're recording today, so is this going to be posted on your YouTube?
Yes, it's going to be posted on mine. So the idea is then, okay, how do you package this and communicate this to accomplish what you want becomes the question. Becomes the question that you need to address. In other words, okay, there's no shortage of people. There's no shortage of people that are trying to figure out what to do. There's a lack of people coming back into the workforce in certain areas, and I don't blame them for not wanting to go into those areas, but you got to dig a little deeper to understand why they're not going to those areas. What else are they doing? Then you also have to look at the incomes that are out there. I ran across a story the other day, and this was a guy in Iowa. He was a lineman for an electrical company, and he's making $360,000 a year. And he has 3 jobs. 3. And he has a young family and a young baby. And he's in his early 30s. Now, if I look at that concept, that idea, that's a hungry man that wants to be successful and is out there going to do whatever he could possibly do to make that work. But that's the kind of personality that then you've got to get interested in what you've got. So the story you have to tell has to be based on what's important to that individual. And again, it's the Ralph and Jerry story. It's it all, it's the Howard story. It all fits the same bill as, what's important to you, and then you paint the right picture that's important to them. And people aren't interested in making $200 a month. They're just not. And you got to go out and look for that. They're interested in making $5,000 a month. They're making $10,000 a month. Go look at your average incomes in this country. And you can Google search all this stuff and find out what people are making, what the average job does, what the hours are. See, you have to paint the right picture. And the right picture, and this is all about, what Lorraine asked today of, she's joined a club, she's going to sell her Wellness on Wheels regarding RV. So what story do you tell those people? So you have to do some work, and you have to do some surveys, and you have to find out what they need, what they want, what they're interested in, what their problems are, what their challenges are. And then once you have that data, then you can then turn that around and come back and promote to the broad public. And it was kind of like what was very fascinating about this with Airbnb. And then I went to Nikan and I said, man, you got to be doing this too, is they've been surveying their public like mad, Airbnb. And they found a whole new category of people and a whole new business model to fill. And that was the temporary worker. So they found out that a worker could work anywhere in today's society, and people were looking for longer term rentals. Well, they found that by surveys. They found that by asking people what they needed and what they wanted. And they got that as a big answer, and it's now become a huge part of Airbnb's business. So again, you're no different than Airbnb. You have a product, you have a service that you offer to the public, and it is really important what you have in their daily lives. Go out and talk to people about sleep and find out how many can go a couple of days without sleeping. Doesn't work. So then how does our product relate to that? And what are the features and the benefits, and how could you communicate that to get somebody interested in what you got? This bed that they were selling on TV last night started at $1,000, and I think it went up to $3,000 or $4,000 for a bed. People will pay a lot of money for a good solution. So that would be the approach, Lorraine, would be to, do some surveys, get on these lists, ask questions, find out what the problems are, ask for those problems. What issues? Do you have issues sleeping? Do you have issues with water? Do you have issues with air? Those kind of things. Do you have a HEPA filter on your car filter, on your RV's filter? Again, it's just, from the standpoint of your thinking process, understand how this business works. It works when people identify Niken as a potential solution, a desire, a need, or a want. So therefore, if you promote those concepts and people are looking at that as what they're after, bingo bango, then you get the communication back. And we hear this all the time. Oh yeah, somebody found me on my webpage. Well, so they were looking. Darn right they were looking. See, people are looking all the time, and they look in different ways. And you can create them looking at you by what you communicate and how you communicate. And remember that it is communication that is the key to all of this. So you can communicate the wrong things to everybody and not get anywhere. And that's what a lot of people do. They're going after strictly the product when the people don't have any need for the product. So they're missing out on the other side of the business. We worked the opposite starting out in our business back in the 90s. We started with the business, and then we dropped down to the product. So experiment, try every which way you can to figure it out. Anyway, we beat that one up with dead horse. Did that answer your question, Lorraine? You're muted. There you go.
Yes, it does. And I sent you the link to my new website. I would appreciate some feedback.
Okay, I did check. I did start to look at it. I haven't finished, but it looks really cool so far.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, super deal. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's 9:30 and we're going to leave it today. So today I am doing at 6 p.m. the kickoff call with Ruben, and I'm going to give 3 tips on increasing your check. So you want to get everybody on there to learn these lessons. And I'm going to just tell you a little secret. You've already heard them. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to talk about or share before we close it off?
Before you shut down, I have somebody coming in that I'd like you to meet. So can you stay on for just a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll
thanks.
stop the recording here and there we go.